focusing on Nadia Marcinko, global girl. Why her vanishing act is almost irrelevant now because of this new legislative tool. So just to set the scene, she became a fugitive, January 2024?
That's right. Old court documents got unsealed and boom, she was gone, underground.
Must have been a massive challenge for her operationally.
Huge. But what's really interesting, the urgency now, it isn't just finding a fugitive.
Okay.
The whole investigation has been, reactivated because of a major legislative change. It flips the whole script.
How so?
It shifts the focus away from physically finding her and puts it squarely on her money, what she left behind.
Right. So Marcinko, her lawyers, they probably figured, old immunity deals, her OPSE, she was covered.
They likely did. But then came U.S. Senate Bill S-2746, introduced September 2025.
The Produce Epstein Treasury Records Act. That sounds specific.
Oh, it's incredibly targeted. It actually names Marcinko explicitly.
Wow.
And it mandates the release of all suspicious activity reports SARS filed about her.
SARS.
Yeah.
Those are the red flags banks file, right? A transaction looks fishy, like money laundering.
Exactly. They're financial tripwires. And this bill basically says, forget immunity deals, forget hazy testimony. We want the raw financial data. So the implication is pretty profound. It bypasses all that ambiguity. It goes straight for the financial bedrock of the whole network.
Trying to uncover the source, the scale of the money funding her life, her businesses.
Regardless of where she's physically hiding, the money trail.
Okay, so before she vanished, Marcinko had this whole image makeover. The sources call it reputation laundering.
Yeah, that's a good term for it. It's like using potentially dirty money to buy a squeaky clean public persona.
She went from Gulfstream girl,
which, remember, drew that trademark lawsuit, bit of an own goal, that.
Right.
To the inspirational global girl, promoting women in aviation. A complete rebranding.
Trying to attract new allies, legitimate ones.
Precisely. Build a new, respectable network. Well, that's the cluvy part. It looks like she had two parallel support systems.
Okay.
First, you've got the residual criminal infrastructure, her company, Avaloop LLC, registered at 301 East 66th Street, a building where Mark Epstein, Jeffrey's brother, controls units.
The logistical support, basically, a base.
Seems like it. But then, second, and maybe more importantly, the legitimizing network. Her key alliance was with Dean Kamen, the inventor. Really famous, respected guy.
Dean Kamen, wow. What was the connection?
He gave her office space right inside his DECA research headquarters in New Hampshire.
That's huge. That provides incredible cover, doesn't it? In tech and science circles.
Immense reputational cover. Very smart move. Very effective.
Shows real sophistication. But, looking back, her digital security wasn't always that tight. There were earlier breaches, right? Like that password leak in 2018. Alenka 4144. Pretty basic.
Yeah, her earlier OPSEC was definitely declining, let's say. Left a trail.
Which she learned.
Oh, absolutely. After Epstein's arrest in 2019, she acted fast, did this rapid and thorough digital purge.
Deleted accounts, content, went dark online.
Total discipline. She saw the threat escalate and slam the door shut digitally.
Which makes this current detail really strange. Her main phone number, reportedly still active, as recently as July 2025. Why would someone so disciplined, so deep undercover, keep a known number live?
It's a calculated risk, almost certainly. Think about it. Two-factor authentication.
For accessing bank accounts, online servicing.
Exactly. Critical financial accounts, probably. She likely needs that number to manage the very assets S-2746 is now targeting.
So the phone is her Achilles heel right now.
Potentially her biggest vulnerability, yeah. Ties her directly to the financial trail they want.
Right. She's one of the most, let's say, complex figures tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Really embodies that whole victim-turned-facilitator paradox.
Exactly. And our goal here is to sort of unpack her story, especially her pretty strategic reinvention after everything started coming out.
And you really can't talk about her reinvention without starting with that highly controversial 2008 non-prosecution agreement, the MPA.
That was foundational, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It gave her immunity. It was, the single most critical asset that allowed her to even attempt the life she built afterward. A legal shield, basically.
It's such a stark contrast. You have her origins brought over from Slovakia, just 15, clearly vulnerable.
Yeah.
But then she evolves allegedly into this facilitator role, an insider. And the loyalty piece is striking.
Visiting Epstein in jail, over 70 times back in 2008 while he's incarcerated?
Exactly. And at the same time, she's learning to fly. That's not cheap.
No. And the network clearly financed that pilot training. That loyalty was, well, rewarded. It directly fueled the resources for this strategic rebranding.
So phase one is this reinvention, anglicizing her name, Nadia Marcinko, getting that FAA commercial pilot certification, trying to become a global girl.
Right, global girl. It sounds aspirational, independent, but was it really independent? You look at the corporate setup.
Her company, Avaloop LLC, looks legit on the surface.
Sure, but the address is the tell, 301 East 66th Street.
An apartment building controlled by Epstein's brother, Mark.
Exactly. That shows deep logistical connection, right? The network support structure was still very much in play, even behind this facade of a new startup.
And it wasn't just logistics. She made some smart moves for reputation, too.
Oh, yeah. Textbook reputation laundering. That association with the inventor Dean Kamen.
Moving Avaloop operations for a time into his New Hampshire base.
That's a huge legitimacy boost. Embedding herself in this respected tech world, it's a way to actively, overwrite the past narrative. Very calculated.
Okay, so she's building this polished global girl persona, the pilot, the tech association. Yeah. But then there's the other side, the digital footprint.
Ah, yes. The involuntary digital diary, as we might call it. Because despite all this careful construction, her digital hygiene wasn't great.
Not great is an understatement. Her data popped up in at least 34 data breaches.
Which ironically gives us this forensic counter-narrative. Yeah. Time-stamped evidence of her actual movements and, well, details she probably didn't want out there.
And some of those details are just humanizing in a weird way, contrasting with the image, like the plain text passwords.
Right. One of them tied to an old Yahoo account was Ryuska.
Slovak for little squirrel.
Yeah. What does that tell you? Even amidst this high-level operational persona, there's this small, vulnerable echo of the past. It's quite jarring.
But these breaches weren't just about old passwords. They placed her geographically, too, didn't they?
They did. Critically, an IP address exposed in the Drizzly breach confirmed she made a transaction from a New York location in mid-2020.
Mid-2020, so well after Epstein's death. Still connected to that New York nexus.
Exactly. Caught not by some high-tech surveillance, but by, ordering something online, the mundane betrays the covert.
And this digital trail, this exposure, seems to lead directly into her next phase, the retreat.
Precisely. You can map it. Epstein gets arrested in 2019, and almost immediately the digital cleanup starts.
That infamous donut stunt video, gone. LinkedIn profile, scrubbed. The global girl stuff, disappeared.
It's a clear pattern. Increased legal risk equals digital withdrawal.
And then the final step, the physical disappearance in January 2024. Right after those court documents were unsealed, putting her name back in the headlines.
That wasn't panic. That was operational security. OPSE, a planned shutdown of the trail when the heat got too high. It's professional.
So bringing it all together, her story really sharpens that focus on the victim-accomplice complexity, how the network could kind of twist those roles.
It exploited vulnerability, but also seemed to empower certain individuals, giving them tools, like that NPA, like the funding, to survive and even thrive, in a way.
Which leads to a bigger question, maybe, about the resilience of the network itself. Marcinko isn't the only one who managed this kind of reinvention.
Not at all. Think about the other three women who got immunity in that same 2008 deal. Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, Leslie Groff.
The sisterhood of immunity, you could call them?
Yeah. Their collective ability to also strategically fade, to rebuild their lives largely out of the public eye. What does that tell you?
It suggests the network wasn't just about Epstein. It had structures built in for the long haul, for protecting the inner circle.
Right. Infrastructure for resilience, for disappearance, maybe pre-planned. It implies a system designed to outlast its central figure.
Well, pretty strange. It's this convergence between two very different worlds. On one side, you have Dean Kamen, the famous inventor, Decca Research, first robotics.
Right, a figure known for, STEM leadership, ethical stuff, big public image.
And on the other, Nadia Marcinko, formerly Nada Marcinkova.
And her background is quite different. She's a key figure in Jeffrey Epstein's network, got immunity in that 2008 plea deal, very public.
Then she pivots hard, starts this aviation influencer company, Avaloop LLC.
So the big question we're digging into, for you listening, is how? How does someone with that kind of public, high-risk history get so deeply embedded in Kamen's very high-level corporate environment?
Yeah, how does that happen? Because our sources show this wasn't just like a casual acquaintance. It seems really systemic, almost strategic.
It looks like it started with what you could maybe call legitimacy laundering, using Kamen's infrastructure.
How so?
Well, back in 2014, Marcinko incorporates Avaloop LLC. And the principal business address she uses, it's 340 Commercial Street, Manchester.
Wait, that's Ducker Research headquarters. Kamen's main R&D company.
Exactly. Right off the bat, her private company gets this stamp of institutional credibility. Borrowed legitimacy, essentially.
Oh, okay, that's significant.
But it didn't stop there, did it?
No, it went deeper. For the residential address on that same filing, she used a property owned by Maureen Tukey,
Kamen's long-term partner, and Dika's former top lawyer.
The very same. So you see, it's not just a corporate address anymore. This puts Marcinko right inside Kamen's personal inner circle, legally speaking, on paper at least.
So the lines are blurring. Corporate, personal?
Completely. And then there's the personnel flow. This really cemented it.
You mean Shannon Cusack?
Precisely. Marcinko's associate at Avaloop. She gets hired directly from there into the role of Dean Kamen's chief of staff.
Chief of staff. That's a hugely influential position. Access to everything.
Absolutely. And get this. Both Marcinko and Cusack are actually residing at Kamen's private home in Bedford.
Living there. So personal space, corporate power, it's all mixed. It's a total fusion. And the physical access at DACA headquarters reflects that. Marcinko wasn't just given some random cubicle.
What kind of access are we talking about?
Kamen himself introduced her formally. She was going to be the instructor for a new company flying club.
Okay.
But more than that, she got a private office.
Yeah.
On the executive floor.
Yeah.
Right near Kamen's own office. And she operated Avaloop, her private business, from that office, inside DECA HQ.
Wow. So private housing, executive floor office, key personnel placement. How could DECA leadership possibly claim they didn't know about her past? It seems unbelievable.
Well, the sources we reviewed suggest unbelievable is the right word. Her connection to Epstein, the immunity deal. It was all public record from 2008. Any basic background check, the kind you'd expect for someone getting that level of access.
Especially access to corporate aircraft and the executive suite.
Right. It would have flagged her immediately. The denials, particularly from Tuhi about the address, when Marcinko is apparently living with Kamen, it really strains credibility.
It sounds like what the sources call willful blindness, deliberately looking away.
That seems to be the implication. And this created a real contradiction, didn't it?
A massive one. You've got DECA and First promoting this wholesome, ethical STEM image for kids.
And meanwhile, on the executive floor, Marcinko is running Avaloop, which sources described as using, let's say, a very different marketing style. More sexualized, reminiscent of her past associations.
So it created this kind of toxic two-tier culture right at the top.
Exactly. A stark contrast to the public face.
Now, what about direct financial support? Did Kamen just write checks to Avaloop?
Direct financial records like canceled checks aren't detailed in the sources we have. But the in-kind support was enormous. You have to consider the value.
Free housing at a private mansion.
Executive office space in a corporate HQ.
Access to corporate aircraft.
Key personnel working closely with her. It adds up. It was systemic support.
That digital silence she started after 2019, and then her actual physical disappearance from her place in New York back in January 2024. So let's start right there. What was the trigger? What made her suddenly run?
It looks like a direct, almost panicked escape. Her disappearance lines up perfectly, with the court ordering those sensitive documents unsealed, the ones from the Virginia Jeffrey civil suit. And what's really key here is the immediate legal danger they represented. You had victim testimony in there detailing her alleged active role.
Which completely blew up the whole traumatized victim story her lawyers have been pushing since 2019.
Exactly, shattered it. But that wasn't all.
No, because the documents also included her own deposition, where she pleaded the fifth, dozens of times? How bad was that for her? Did that make things worse than the testimony itself?
Oh, absolutely. Overnight, that transformed her. She went from maybe being on the edges back to being a central figure, highly exposed. Her refusal to answer questions, now public record. Well, the assessment says high confidence that she saw serious legal jeopardy coming and decided to bolt. Immediately.
And she knows how to disappear, digitally at least. We know she changed her name before, from Nada Marcinkova to Nadia Marcinko. And that whole rebranding thing from Gulfstream Girl to Global Girl. Then after 2019, like you said, she just wiped her online presence. A total digital ghosting. But even ghosts leave traces, right? The assessment found something.
Yes, despite being very thorough. Purging her current online stuff, scrubbing known locations like New York and that secure DECA research connection in New Hampshire through Dean Kamen, one thing slipped through, a secondary phone number, area code 188. Now, this number surfaced, interestingly, from a December 2022 data breach. And the irony. The breach was from CoinTracker, for tracking crypto, shows even her financial privacy tools weren't foolproof.
Hold on. A single area code from a breach almost 2 years back. That gives high confidence. Couldn't that just be like an old burner phone she ditched ages ago?
That's the crucial part. Forensics showed the 828 number wasn't actually collected by CoinTracker itself. It seems like threat actors combined data from different breaches. They cross-referenced it and linked that specific number to her specific email address. So this digital artifact, it creates a persistent link, a connection point to Western North Carolina, think Asheville, Hendersonville area. For someone trying to stay hidden, any link like that as well, it's huge.
Okay, beyond the digital breadcrumb, why there? Why Western North Carolina? Strategically.
Well, it's far from her old haunts on the East Coast. It offers a mix of, anonymity, but still has amenities. Plus, think about her background. FAA certified pilot, flight instructor, the old Gulfstream girl skills. That region actually has a pretty active general aviation scene. It's a potential way for her to earn income, maybe quietly, under the radar.
Right, and connecting that to her past behavior. She's used corporate shields before, hasn't she? Like Avaloop LLC.
Exactly, that's her pattern. Using LLCs to hold assets, hide ownership. It's highly probable she's done it again. Set up a new LLC, maybe in North Carolina, to hold property, other assets. It keeps her name off public records. So the assessment points towards a deliberate move, a relocation to Western North Carolina. And that 828 number is the single most concrete lead pointing that way.
Okay, so let's recap for you listening. We've got a picture emerging. A reactive flight driven by sudden, intense legal pressure from those unsealed documents. And that flight likely led her to Western North Carolina, a location suggested by this one tiny traceable digital artifact, that 828 number, which she probably thought was long gone, totally inactive.
More like a blueprint.
Right, a blueprint for survival, really, for the whole network.
Exactly. And specifically, we're focusing on the architecture of loyalty around 4 key women. Nadia Marcinko, Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, and Leslie Groff. Mm-hmm. They all got immunity in that deal.
And that's the crucial part. The MPA, it wasn't just protecting Epstein. It explicitly built this kind of legal wall around these 4 key figures.
Legal firewall.
Yeah, exactly. And that protection, it allowed them to basically construct entirely new lives. Our mission here is to unpack the strategies they used, because they were surprisingly different.
Very different. It's like a spectrum, right? A spectrum of concealment.
Absolutely. Calculated almost like a portfolio approach to managing risk.
So let's break that down. You had Nadia Marcinko. She went for, the rebrand. Loudest option, maybe.
Definitely high visibility. Changed her name slightly, became this global girl aviation figure, Avaloop.
And the network helped set that up, didn't it? Like Epstein funded her Gulfstream training.
Directly enabled, yeah. Which seems risky, putting someone so central out there. But maybe they felt they needed a visible success story.
A gamble that didn't entirely pay off, though. Especially with her being reported missing after those court files were unsealed in January 2024.
True. A brittle strategy in the end.
Okay, then shift gears to Sarah Kellen. Totally different approach.
Mm-hmm. Social camouflage.
Right. Became Sarah Kensington. Strategic marriage to Brian Vickers, the NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
Started an interior design firm.
SLK Designs. It's all about building that facade, that, respectable upper-class life. Makes scrutiny harder.
Almost like hiding in plain sight, but with a very curated site.
Precisely. Then you've got Leslie Groff.
Aggressive normalization, is that fair?
I think so. Kept her name, stayed local, Connecticut, just stuck to the script, purely administrative, executive assistant, saw nothing improper.
And her loyalty seems, prepaid. Those golden handcuffs we read about.
Yeah, the reported $200K salary, the Mercedes, the nanny. It makes silence the rational financial choice long before 2008 even happened.
Easier and more profitable to stay quiet.
Definitely.
And the last one, Adriana Ross. Originally Adriana Marcinko.
She's the ghost. Total concealment.
Just vanish.
Effectively, yeah. Post 2008, wiped from the public record. That kind of disappearance, it's complex, it's expensive. It really suggests a disciplined, well-resourced effort by the network itself.
Not just her acting alone.
No way. Too coordinated.
Which brings us to the evidence of coordination, because this wasn't just 4 individuals making choices.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting. You see the network's hand.
The Mark Epstein nexus. That's pretty concrete, isn't it?
Very. Both Marcinko's Avaloop and Kellen's SLK Designs.
The aviation company and the design firm.
Uh-huh. They operated from addresses in the same Manhattan building, a building majority owned by Jeffrey's brother, Mark.
Okay, so that's logistical support, central planning, years after the NPA.
Active management. And then there's the legal strategy.
The Fifth Amendment.
Yeah. When Marcinko, Kellen, and Ross faced civil suits, they consistently invoked their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, like a unified front.
Protecting the secrets. Network first.
Exactly.
So, stepping back, what's the big picture here? It's not just personal survival tactics.
No, it's the network actively engineering its own resilience, its own longevity.
Funded, planned longevity.
Right. The women's silence, it's like a modern corporate omerta, but maybe sustained less by overt threats and more by these, sophisticated financial and legal safety nets. Okay, let's get into this. Jeffrey Epstein's gone, but the really unsettling question, the one that's still out there, is whether his whole criminal network just vanished with him.
Right. Did it survive? That's what we're digging into. Not just the history, but what might still be operating sort of under the radar now.
And there's an independent group trying to piece this together.
Yeah, the At-Night Creative Intelligence Division, they're not looking back so much as forward. They're trying to map potential trafficking channels that might exist post-Epstein. Filling in blanks,
Yeah.
The knowledge gaps left by the official investigation.
Gaps, okay. And their approach is different.
Very different. They're explicit, not law enforcement. They use intelligence gathering techniques, sure, mapping threats. But their, let's say, unique tool is pressure.
Pressure. How so?
Well, they've got a reward fund for solid information. But they also use public disclosure. They put out detailed press releases about who they're looking at, what they're doing. It's almost like a psychological tactic.
To shake things loose, maybe make people nervous.
Exactly. And that strategy seems kind of necessary when you see who they're focusing on.
Who is that?
The so-called Immunity Four. Nadia Marcinko, Sarah Kellen, Leslie Groff, and Adriana Ross. Key figures from the Epstein circle.
Wait, immunity. Didn't they get deals back in 2007? That controversial non-prosecution agreement?
They did. That's the paradox. They were shielded legally back then.
So, if they have immunity for the past stuff, why target them now? Is there some kind of loophole?
The loophole isn't legal. It's informational. Immunity covers past prosecution for those specific charges.
Yeah.
But it doesn't erase what they know. They're seen as like living databases on how the whole operation actually worked.
The mechanics of it all.
Precisely. How it functioned. And the big question is, were those systems, those methods, ever really shut down? Or did they just go quiet?
Okay, let's take Nadia Marcinko. She seems like a prime example of trying to reinvent herself after the scandal.
Oh, absolutely. She was described as Epstein's live-in protege, even his pilot. Certified on a Boeing 747, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay. And post-Epstein.
She rebranded. Became Global Girl. An entrepreneur with an aviation branding company, Avaloop. But, interestingly, when things got hot again in 2024, she tried to disappear.
How?
Moved to sort of remote, low-key areas upstate New York. But at night, apparently tracked her down, made contact.
So the evasion wasn't entirely successful, and her path sounds a bit like Sarah Kellen's.
There are definite parallels. Kellen was allegedly the main scheduler. The recruiter ran the Palm Beach house.
Right. And despite her 2007 immunity, wasn't there a judge recently who...
Yeah, in 2022, a federal judge called her a knowing participant in the conspiracy. That assessment is pretty starkly at odds with her legal protection, right?
Definitely. And Kellen also tried evasion.
Oh, yeah. Reportedly dodged multiple subpoenas from the U.S. Virgin Islands just last year in 2023. Seems to be a pattern of sophisticated avoidance.
Avoidance is one thing, but you mentioned infrastructure. Is there anything concrete suggesting parts of the network itself survived?
This is probably the most solid piece of evidence that's come out. According to the source material we looked at, both Marcinko's company, Avaloop, and Kellen's interior design firm, SLK Designs, which she ran under the alias Sarah Kensington.
Okay.
They operated out of the exact same building in Manhattan. Seriously?
The same physical address?
The very same.
Yeah.
And it's a property linked to the Epstein family.
Wow. Okay, that's more than just coincidence. That feels like a tangible link.
It really does. It suggests that maybe the infrastructure, the assets, weren't fully dismantled like people assumed. The shared location, plus the similar patterns you see, reinvention, complex evasion tactics, it points away from the idea that the network just dissolved when Epstein died.
It sounds more like a conscious effort to survive the scandal, maybe go dormant, keep the framework intact.
That's certainly what the evidence seems to suggest. Yeah. A methodical approach, not a complete collapse.
So, wrapping this up, if the key people who know how it all worked are protected by immunity, legally speaking. And official channels seem to have these knowledge gaps you mentioned.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What's the role then for private groups like At Night using, well, public pressure and intelligence tactics?
It raises ethical questions, effectiveness questions.
Right. If the legal system can't or won't get the answers because of past deals, what responsibility falls on maybe the public or these independent efforts to make sure these kinds of sophisticated criminal setups can't just hibernate and reemerge?
That's the really challenging thought to leave people with, I think. Where does that responsibility